All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode. Let me introduce my guest today. You may remember him from that show a while back, Real World Miami, Joe Patane. How are you doing, sir?
All good, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem. It's good to see you. Where are you these days?
I'm in Denver, Colorado, and Washington Park. A lovely, lovely place with my doggie, who is newly with new life. So I just want to give her a good end of life here in the park. She's literally all I care about right now, because we got the final months of her life, and she's giving me
Wow.
really good life, really good life.
Wow. I'm sorry to hear that, but that's very touching. Animal love is one thing that'll never abandon you.
Oh, that's the truth. I'm sad talking about it, but psych, she's alive, so it's all good. It's all good. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I would show you her, but she's sleeping and she's upstairs. Maybe at the end.
All right. Yeah, I see from seeing you on the book, Facebook, you're very outdoorsy these days. Much
Yes.
different wavelength than the Joe that we knew growing up in New York prior to the real world. What are like the contrast? Do you like it better than when you were growing up in the city, or do you miss get the
Uh,
itch a little bit when it comes to the city?
that's funny. I don't think that's a real background you have of New York City in your photo there in the
No,
video,
it's not.
but I don't miss it at all, literally at all. Occasionally, I go back. Obviously, a lot of my family's there. My 94-year-old mom is there, and obviously, I go home to her in Brooklyn and in New Jersey with some family. But the hecticness and the hype, I don't miss at all. In actuality, I've been traveling. I don't know if you know, for the last 4.5 years, all over the world, looking for a new place to live for me and my doggie, and just that's peaceful, chill, and I don't know, healthy, I think is the greatest word, because I also had health issues myself, and my doggie had health issues. And I think all of them are related to that city environment thing, the stress of life, the constant frustrations, and go and go and go. And that's what I've been doing all my life. And even though I've been traveling for 4.5 years, I sold my businesses years ago, and I decided I wanted to I'm a complete minimalist. And I wanted to travel. I wanted to take care of myself after years of doing my nonprofit Dream Camp Foundation for high level need youth. I lost too many kids. There's so much challenge, stress, drugs, and hurt in the world. I just wanted to, and death, to be honest with you, that I needed to get away and take a breather from all of it. And being away from a city, or just straight up being away from everything that I knew, was the best thing I could have done for myself when I started traveling. And although I didn't find a real new home to spend all my time, or a significant part of my time, overseas, I did come back to the fact that, wow, America kind of has everything that the world has in beauty uh, and diversity of everything, including landscapes like your background. And if I showed you outside here, I'm literally across the street from a park with lakes and sunsets and trees and people playing volleyball, and that's what I need in my life right now and want. And specifically for my doggie, is the best thing for everybody's health. So it's all. I'm super grateful for being here right now. And who knows what that entails in the future. Literally past the summer, I just go month by month, and we see what happens.
Yeah, I've been saying right along the last couple of weeks. It's like when you're around noise per se, like because you've been there, New York, it's
Oh
such
yeah,
a noisy area. Even
yeah,
if something's not presently happening in the moment, that like I don't want to say paranoia, but like that familiarity with like just the noise that the area brings
uh,
just lingers with you in your everyday. Like I don't know, like I just find my ability to function is a lot better when I'm in a more quiet type of city or like state than I
yeah.
am dead smack in the city. But
And not only function, in my opinion, it's actually literally think and heal
yeah, yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
And hearing yourself, I think, is the most important thing. Listening to yourself is super important. I don't know if you know, I'm a super yoga freak now, and
Oh, are you?
I'm really into the body and internal, healing and listening to the self and what's up and going around in your mind, body, and spirit. And the dog actually helped a lot of that and slowed me down. Ever since I've had her, she's super made me realize you got to get out. You can't work all the time. We got to take a walk. We got to smile. We got to be excited about everything every day. And honest to God, it literally changed my life and made me appreciate my life a lot more. So I'm super grateful for her. I haven't been with her for a while. She's been a therapy dog for, my friend's dad who was dying, and I got her back. And even though she was about to be put down, she made it through a tough surgery, and the life she gave me, or the attitude she gave me that I just spoke of, is what I want to give back and say, hey, I learned from you, and I want to actually put that in action. So that's where we're at. We're in a theater in the basement here,
Nice.
and I'm just about to take my siesta. I'm Italian, so I got to do my daily nap. It's all about taking care of yourself, man. And that's literally, I'm not even joking. I'm alone with my dog, and that's what we're doing. And it's the greatest time in my life. I don't know how to even. I almost don't want to say that. I'm super super good with every day, and I almost am hiding away from people because I feel like that's not the case outside the door. It's a frustrating, uniquely odd time in the world where there's a lot of stress and high level fluctuations of frustration. It's why I'm not even flying on planes anymore. I flew constantly during COVID for the 2 years when planes were empty, super clean, and airline personnel were incredibly kind and loving and good to me. It was like the days when my dad used to fly for Pan American, and I was up
Mhm.
in the cockpit with him, and all the flight attendants were taking care of me. It was a dream. It was like it was the best of travel, and I knew as soon as the doors opened again to travel and flying that people were going to flock to it, and they did. And I realized over about two of the last flights I took, I don't want to fly anymore, at least for a significant period of time. Now, probably till my dog dies now, and
Mm.
and when that all clears up. Geez, the last two planes I was on, there was police on the plane taking off someone for crazy behavior.
Wow.
So something's up. Something's up. There's
Yeah.
a lot of stress level on the planet, and it is not where I am currently at all. So
But does
yeah,
any of that, maybe not like enjoying being around people, did any of that like heighten because of your time on the real world? Because, you get that added eyeballs and attention and all that stuff once you come off that. Did that like maybe heighten any type of
it's
post
good.
show?
That's a good question. But you got to remember that's 20 some odd years ago for me, and sure, I'm sure I frustrated my roommates like they frustrated me. They put together a group of 20 somethings that are so different from each other purposely to make it a challenge uh, and make it good television. So sure, I was very aware of wanting to be alone or away from people after being on the show. I did do that actually, way back. I spent the time with my fiance after the show, and it was super isolated. Even though I was in Manhattan, it actually is pretty easy to isolate in Manhattan because no one wants to talk to you, even your neighbors in the building. It's really really strange. It's really strange, but uh, after that, yeah, I took a lot of time to myself, a lot of time uh, to reflect on actually who my friends were at that time. I thought I was, and I realized 90% of my friends were not really my friends, and I had to maybe change that up a little bit.
Well, what maybe gave it away that they weren't your friends? Did you notice that like once you did the show, like that a lot of that stuff was maybe like artificial with like them wanting to be your friends? Is that?
Yeah, and I didn't, and it's unfortunate to find that out. People want to be a part of any celebrity that happens in anyone's life, and they kind of forget about, the realities of who you were and who you are, like you do. Like I certainly forgot about my own self. I actually became quite a jerk. Uh, you almost have to be, because people are like on top of you every day, everywhere you go, and videotaping you or taking pictures of you while you're pretending to be asleep on the subway. And
Post show life was crazy like that
for
when you
for
were coming
years,
off the show.
for years, for probably 15 years after, and maybe it chilled, 10 years ago. And, but still, I mean, if I went to a bar or something these days, which I don't do, there's always someone, like on my softball team, there's always someone, who knows me. I always play, city sport, co-ed softball. I love that a lot. I play volleyball and, all these things. So and they keep it on the low now. They don't want to like reveal it up in the front,
Yeah.
because it's so long ago. It almost ages people too, and but it's not like going through airport security and the whole basketball team or cheerleading team of a high school jumping up on you and making it a big scene, so you can't even get through TSA. I mean, that happened to me all the time, especially literally years after the show, years and years, at least 10-15 years after the show, that was happening on the daily. But I mean, and that's not something you expect. I'm not saying I'm upset about it. It was super fun, and obviously fans are really nice. They might not have been all that nice to my fiance. Not many people liked her back then, but all in all, I mean, people were super kind and good. And it's really weird to have the fan base still from back then, some of whom are friends, whether it be on Facebook, social media, or whatever, for these 20 some odd years. And literally, I've never met them. Even like you said, Joe said hello from a previous Real World. I never met her in person, but she's a good friend. And we have, a friendship that's actually probably better than some of my closer people in my life on the daily, So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a really interesting phenomenon, the whole thing. There's a guy in Syracuse University. I was going to do a course about it on reality TV in Syracuse. He actually runs a Center for Media Studies over there. And he asked me to do classes with him. But I'm like, I just want to move on from this stuff, man.
So I'd venture to say that you know in your everyday life, aside from like what we're presently doing now, like if you're walking your dog, like this is not something that you think about on the regular.
Never, no. And it's really funny because it never ever goes away, right? So
You ran into Mike though, right? Recently started.
yeah, no. I
Yeah.
mean, if I'm in this, I travel a lot. So if I'm in a city where I know a roommate is, and that's what actually Facebook just changed. They used to have nearby friends on Facebook, and it went away this month, which I think is horrible. But I guess that's a net safety
probably.
thing they're trying to do. And it made travel really great, and keeping up with old friends really wonderful for me, like worldwide. So I love Facebook. But and Mike, I was in St. Augustine, Florida, for a wedding of my two girlfriends there, and Mike is like a half hour away, so of course I'm going to be in touch, and that was wonderful. Actually, and again, I got to say, like a year plus ago, Dan was in touch with me about these reunion shows, and no, not that. Yeah, Dan wrote me the first messenger message about it, saying, "Hey, they're getting paid for these reunion shows." I'm like, "Are you kidding? People are still watching this stuff. Why would they want to see us old people?" It's super funny to me. But and then he's like, "Oh, I'm serious." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'll believe it when I see the contract." You know what I mean? And then because I don't even watch TV. I don't even own a TV.
Yeah.
So I just watch movies all day, or go to the theater. I love the theater, and I'm really involved in that stuff. But then several months later, I get a call. I touch down in LAX. And I get a message from Cynthia on my voicemail saying, "Hey Joe," like all professional. And I know I'd probably just seen Cynthia in person, and her and I are really friendly. We don't see each other a lot, but again, super really friendly, great friend. And she's like, "Joe, I have something to discuss with you. Is there a time when I could call you back?" Like she wants to set up a meeting for me, and she's talking about how the cast decided that she would be the one best to call me to convince me to do a reunion show, because they all want to do it. And I'm like, hey, how can I say no to what I can't stop something from happening that you guys really want to happen. So of course, I'm happy to participate, but I'm not gonna talk to producers and directors and stuff. That's what agents and managers are for. I don't trust MTV. I don't trust Paramount or the parent companies, after what we've been through. So but that's what agents and are for. So if it's real and it's legit, let me know. and I haven't heard anything since. And Mike, Cynthia, Dan, they seem to be digging deep as they can with friends they know that are producers or whatever, and part of that show reunion.
So Mike's on board for it as well.
He seems like the point guy that knows about everybody who is or isn't in.
Because I had Flora on here a couple months ago. She's down for it. Seems like all you guys, in some way, shape, or form are into this.
Yeah, because my man, it's a paycheck that's not anything like they were used to, or we experienced. Really not cool back in the day. They really took advantage of reality TV, still take advantage of reality TV talent, through super terrible contracts that no one on TV should ever sign, but every 20 something or young generation person will sign because they just want the fame and the popularity that a show like that brings, without knowing what that fame and popularity actually bring. So
they just pumped out 3 seasons of
I know
called
nothing about
Real World Homecoming Reunions. They just finished up the third one now, and right now Miami's like the hot thing on the market. Everybody's like, this is what's going to be the next one. So this is an appropriate conversation to probably be having right now.
That's just straight up shocking to me. Cool, whatever. I'm ready. I'm healthy. And I'd be happy to do it. But until I see a contract, or until my agent, my lawyer see a contract, it's nothing. It's just talk. And even though they did do these things, and it appears, like when I sat down with Mike, you're right. I sat down with Mike a couple months ago. And he seemed to know everything about it, like 8 episodes, this amount per episode. We're just talking and answering questions. I'm like, who wouldn't do that? I mean, it's like a little reunion of people that I haven't seen in a long period of time. Some I've seen here and there, but were a big part of my life. Why wouldn't I want to be a part of that? It could be fun, as long as it's not stupid. I don't know how or what audience is watching that, to be honest with you, but hey, give them whatever they want. I'm happy to do that. If it's the Miami cast, why wouldn't I do that? I'm so curious if it actually will happen.
Yeah,
but I'm not in a rush, and I would definitely bring my doggy. They better let me bring.
Time will tell. We'll see. I mean, But you did have, now that you mentioned this stuff, you did have kind of like that first ever type of pull back the curtain type of moment when you wrote that book, Joe's Memoir, and it was like pretty much detailing your time on the show and like maybe the effects that it had. Could you maybe walk like some of my viewers through who haven't heard or read this book yet, like basically the basis of what that book was kind of about?
Sure. It's called Living in Joe's World. I'm pretty sure you could still get it on Amazon.
Yeah.
I have nothing to do with it anymore. All the proceeds used to go to my nonprofit, Dream Camp Foundation for challenged kids. Living in Joe. I guess I wrote 2 books related to this. Living in Joe's World was pretty much right after the show. I was messed up, my man. I was reality TV jacked in the brain, and having gone through an engagement and a disengagement, super volatile relationship that was on international TV, and I had to deal with literally every day in the streets of Manhattan, because I was still with her after the show. And again, like I said, people weren't big fans of hers. So that was a really uncomfortable time in my life, really uncomfortable being a celebrity that I didn't understand, and people were really interested in hearing from or taking photos of or asking questions about or wanting a date. And I was like, I'm just a regular guy, man. Let me just go back to doing my computer work and going back to business school. Actually, I graduated business school, but I even went back to go do more school, become a clinical social worker. And I was confused by all that stuff. I think anyone would be. I think all of us have been. And thank goodness, while ordering a lot of Chinese food and a lot of, pizzas to my apartment in Manhattan, because I didn't want to be out during the day when people were out asking me questions or mobbing me for that part of my life, uh, uh, and gaining a lot of weight. uh, I just wrote and wrote and wrote, and I went to a lot of therapy. Like I think I even went like 3 days a week because I was super messed up by cameras. I was afraid of literally cameras, video recording devices. I was afraid to talk to people on the phone because of the recordings they made on the phone, and I didn't. My life was a little bit weird, right? So I had to get out of that, and I had a really volatile relationship to get out of. So all that combined, I started doing a lot of writing, and I was very fortunate to, I guess, know a couple people that knew a couple people, or I made a lot of phone calls and got permission from both Bunim Productions and MTV to be the first and only person to write a book about the show. That is a long story and was a many month process. But yeah, I was really fortunate. All that writing that was really more therapeutic for me turned into writing that was publishable by every single publisher out there. Wanted something about the inside workings of reality TV and specifically the real world, and I'm the one who got the permission, the only one to do that, and got my pick of which publisher to do that with, and picked HarperCollins because of his great edit, this great editor there that I interviewed, and he was really online with me, not making this like a big expose, but more of a personal story about just someone going through the experience and what it's like, literally for real, what it's like, not what you see on television. And I did that, and you get backlash for that too. You never win, one way or the other. But I did it. I gave him 2 weeks of publicity. I said I won't do David Letterman or Howard Stern back then, and they were kind of bummed about that. And maybe I'm even a little bummed.
Wow. So you got actual offers by like talk shows then to come talk about that.
Everywhere, and everything, even foreign countries. And I only did 2 weeks of it. I only contractually was obligated to 2 weeks of it. Did what I came to do, and I got out of there. And I even bought back the rights to my book because I got a 2-book deal so,
yeah.
with HarperCollins, and but then Simon and Schuster gave me a book deal to write Steve Wozniak's book because he was my best buddy at the time, the guy who started Apple Computer, invented the personal computer, and so I ended up buying the rights back to my book, which is amazing, and being able to be in the process of writing his book, which I, after several months, decided not to continue to do with him because our friendship was falling apart because it was becoming too businessy.
Yeah.
He's actually moving to Colorado now. Literally, he's going to be a half hour away from me. I can't even believe it.
What do you think maybe it was about the experience that I guess like messed you up? Because I know like I've talked to a lot of people about who suffer similar issues when coming off of these shows. I find that the issues are all like kind of vastly different, but all similar in like a different kind of way.
Yeah.
Something about like the cameras and like the heightened setting, like you don't really ever leave the world until like you leave it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
even if you're not on a show, but like the show's still kind of like out, like it just sticks to you and follows you. Like was it like a thing of differentiating the two of like what is real life and then like the life that I've pretty much gone on with having to live out the experience of notoriety?
Man, going back to the day I came home to my apartment in Manhattan at Fordham University in New York City at Lincoln Center. They let me have my apartment that I had that was empty for 6 months or whatever I was on the show. I came back to my apartment. I literally stripped down. I literally, the first thing I did when I got in my house was got naked, and I don't remember moving for 2 days. I was so excited to be free. It was literally, I was free, and I didn't answer any phone calls. I didn't do anything, and I just was like, it was the greatest feeling to have freedom again, and not knowing what that feeling is, or not going through that experience. The only way you know what that is having gone through the experience. So that's why I'm connected to all these people on reality TV, people on my show. They understand what that feeling is, and you know, your mind gets jacked up from it or not. You know, you have specific things that set you off or trigger you about the cameras and the invasiveness of the cameras and the prison-like scenario that it is, even though you could go out and do anything you can and things that you never thought you'd ever do and crazy things. You know, this camera's following you everywhere, and recording that and cutting and editing it in a back room for a few months later to be in any soap opera scenario that they want it to be, for good television, and that's generally not in your best favor. uh, so it's it's a scary hey it's scary to go through that experience and not have any idea what's about to be on the show, right? Because we filmed for 5.5 months 24/7, being followed by cameras, by sound crew with microphones and boom operators, and people getting waivers signed everywhere we turned or went, like church, even the beach. You know, can you imagine that? It's super crazy, and I don't know how intense it is these days, or if they've changed the process. I'm sure they changed the 5.5 months part of it, because that's like insanely unhealthy. Once you get out of that and you're free from that, it takes a while to adjust to the realities of life, right? Where you're not going to get a free meal at that restaurant because you got cameras following you. When you're not going to get all of those people giving you attention at the club, just because there's cameras around and you know you're maybe on TV or whatever. They didn't even know what we were, you know, about. They just knew that there was cameras following us and that, you know, they could be in the lens of a camera maybe. When that's over and you have your life back, you either want it the old way, or you're really psyched about it the new way, or the new you got to adjust to, with everybody knowing who you are or thinking they know who you are, or um, it's an indescribable thing that takes years and years and years to process. And I think some cast members are still processing it, you know, and they want to go on every every show that they can, every challenge or thing. That is not me. I've said no over and over again to that process. I think they know they're not even calling me anymore. That's why they were so concerned about me with this reunion show.
What was there pushback from MTV, like when this book started picking up steam at all?
Oh,
or?
yeah, man. Oh, it's great that I'm allowed to talk about this now. I wonder if I'll ever talk about, or if I ever did talk about this. I never talked about this, I'm pretty sure. MTV tried to sue me for $10 million. $10 million. And my lawyer was so excited about it because he's like, this is gonna blow your book up so big, because I had the right to write the book. I had actually in writing on MTV letterhead and Buna Murray letterhead that I was allowed to write a book. How I got that is very different than what anyone would imagine, but I'm a pretty persistent guy, and I had some good fans out there. So I got it legitimately, and they didn't know that, and they wanted to stop it at every cost. So obviously, $10 million to me back then, I feared deeply for myself, for my family, but my lawyer literally was salivating at the mouth about it, for the press that would bring, and how that would bring MTV down, and all the things he was saying. And I'm like, hey man, I'm not in this to get more celebrity. I just want to get the truth out. I'm not trying to have a lawsuit on me. I'm not trying to be in the press anymore. I just literally wanted to do this, let people know what's going on in reality TV, and then make a decision for themselves about whether it's good or bad. And showing what the experiences were from a perspective of someone inside. And I let it go. I actually changed the title of the book out of fear. It was originally called Living in the Real World. And I changed the title of the book to Living in Joe's World, so I wouldn't even be, copyright issue, which I never would have been. I could have called the book, I could have kept the book's name as Living in the Real World, which some publishers or, advertisers actually kept it in there, when they were selling the book in bulk to the bookstores and whatnot. But the greatest joy was when my lawyer got to send the letters on letterhead for me having permission to go forward with this book. But it also slowed down the process and scared even the publisher a little bit, even though I had a super huge indemnity clause with the publisher, because I knew that could be happening. And I just wanted to move on from it. And that's what I did. The book went out, did what it did, and disappeared. That was the goal. And thank goodness, because it was so long ago, it's not like a big, on the internet forever and ever and ever thing. It's kind of disappeared, just like our shows and our episodes have kind of disappeared more than the people of today that are on the show, because it's like way more popular, I guess. And social media is so much easier to get a hold of and stuff. But anyway, that's a fun story. I don't know how much of I told you, because I was thinking legally about how much I could say, but it's like so many years later, I could probably say anything I want. I never even thought about it. But that's the truth.
We can leave it there just in case there's a reunion on the horizon.
Yeah. All good.
Yeah. So that drives the question here. Seeing as how like the effect of the show had on you, like what maybe prompted you to audition or try to get on the show initially anyway?
You won't believe this. And this is probably stuff I put in my book. I'm sure it is, or at least the second book. I wrote two books, Living in Joe's World and It's All Good, It's All Love. And the second book had no editorial or money-related, publishing world-related issues. So I was able to say anything I wanted in the second book, at least from a non-libelous perspective about my real life and the real experience of going through it, without making it a big, fancy to do. So it got a lot deeper into who I am, how it changed me, my foundation, my working with kids, my becoming a social worker, after being in business and owning my computer business and stuff. But for your question again, don't let me miss the question. What did you just ask me?
Oh, what led you to want to audition?
I can't even imagine what in the world would have led me. I got to think. I know I wrote it in my book. I did it it was a joke. AOL was, America, you remember America Online?
Yeah.
AOL version 1.0. I was big on that stuff because I was already working at Apple. Apple had a really cool online thing called, I don't even remember what it was called. eWorld. But I had AOL and I had eWorld because I was working at Apple and that's what they used. AOL version 1.0 I'm diggling around, and there's a banner ad, probably one of the first banner ads ever. It says, it literally had the big words, $50,000, be on MTV with the logo, start a business. It's something like that. And I clicked the banner. I'm like, oh my God, so $50,000, a lot of money to me back then. But of course, it was split between 7 other cast members. And yeah, it was like, start a business and be on the real world. And I'm like, whoa. I was like, I had my own computer business at the time. I was a little young entrepreneur guy. And I thought how cool it would be to show the world that young people could make a difference in the business world, right? I was getting my MBA at the time. I think I'm the oldest one on the real world ever. I think that's a Trivial Pursuit question, actually, because I was going to business school and literally getting my MBA. I graduated with my MBA on the show and proposed to my fiance there. But that's why I did it, man. I really wanted to show it was the first season that they gave us money to start a business together as a group of 7. And I thought that was like the coolest thing. So
the television aspect wasn't even on your radar then?
Not at all. I was a complete nerd. I wore a suit and tie to the interviews. Like I did like 12 different interviews over the phone. We had to tape the interviews and send in the tape. I was in a suit and tie for an MTV television.
Hey, maybe they respected you coming, prepared.
It was just what I did. I was a super, super crazy nerd back then, my man, and I was really into what I was doing, and I really, really wanted to change the business world. I thought the business world was so whack, and needed some love and not
a good thing to tap into if you guys do this reunion show would be maybe what would it be 20 some on years. Oh no, not so 96. All right. So you guys, like modern day today, if you guys were to start and succeed in starting the business today on the reunion show,
we'd be much smarter not to work with each other. They put together certain personalities that would not get along in person, let alone in a business together. We never agreed to a specific business. You have to if you have, and the way they set it up was we were equal shareholders in the business with the documents that Landon K. Thorne, our business advisor, that literally had to pass things through MTV before he advised us. That's not the way a business advisor works, my man. So, and it's we would never work together as a group of the 7 of us that we are. It's shocking that we'd even come together in a reunion show, but it's really money talks. A specific amount of money will probably get anyone and everyone to a reunion show, even super famous people, because they still want to continue their fame and know where the fame originally came from. Like there's some really big celebrities that came out of the real world, and it's hard to break out of that
stigma
of the show. I had no aspirations of that whatsoever, but I know, Mike the Miz, he wanted that from day one, and he focused on that. And he got that, and I'm happy for him. I'm proud of him. It's not any way, shape, or form the direction I would have went in, but that's what he wanted, and he worked super hard at it. He even has come to the dream camps to present to the kids, and that's just great, when you don't forget where you came from. So, and there's many other people that have been on movies and television and various, just successes, and it's nice, because that's a good mix of people. But a lot of them maybe have gone nowhere and just keeping the MTV world of television and reruns and various shows.
Well, sir, your time on the show, you had what I would call the kiss of death. The rule of thumb is, don't go on the show with a relationship. But, you fell victim to that. And that was what I would probably say your storyline majority was, right? Was the whole banter with you and the ex girl, or at the time girlfriend.
Yeah, there's that time girlfriend turned fiance on the show. Yeah,
Did the
yeah.
show like doom that relationship? I mean, I don't know how long you could say for yourself, like how long you guys lasted after the show, but
Doom the show, doom the relationship. Remember, I'm a therapist now, so I thought long and hard about this. I don't think it doomed the relationship. I think it expedited where the relationship would have gone. Uh, anyway, as most things, we stay in relationships that are comfortable, um, that are wrong, even because they feel right. Just because we're lonely, we're humans, and I I can't. You can't help who you love. You can't help the stuff that happens in your heart and your mind, right? I love that girl. I still love her to this day. She was in touch just after my surgery, like literally days after my surgery,
wow.
saying, I feel you. I feel something's wrong, and I got to be in touch." And I'm like, "That's wonderful. That doesn't mean we're going to be together. That doesn't mean we're going to, have walk into the sunset and get re-engaged and whatnot." It's just, people are part of your history, whether good or bad, and if you could move on from that and still grow and stay true to yourself, it's all good. It's all good. And yeah, I think that relationship wouldn't have gone anywhere good. It would have been exciting. We were totally passionate with each other. Whether people saw that or not, they have no idea what our relationship was. It was between us two. I had a buddy who got married that I didn't agree with the woman he was getting married with, and he asked me to make the speech at the at his wedding, and I'm like, dude, are you kidding? You know how I feel about this. I'm just, and so I get up and I'm like, all right, and I get up and I say, hey, to everybody. I look at the audience, and everybody's nervous because they know how I feel about the girl, and I'm like, what do we don't, nobody wants these two to be together. And everybody freaks out in the audience. And I take a pregnant pause, and I'm like, but what do we know? The two people that are in the relationship are the only people that know what's going on in that relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the truth. It was the truth for us. Like, we super duper love each other, still do to this day, in my opinion. She's in my heart. I love her. I feel for her. But she's not good for me, and that's, you got to move on from that, accept that in certain relationships. And a lot of people don't and stay in stuff that they shouldn't. For me, I had an expedited multiple bunches of reasons to get out. And I'm very, very lucky that I got out. I'm very lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear from people, like, because this was like a running joke about like the height difference?
Oh, like constantly. I mean, I think it's stuff that's on the internet even these days. Like us on the treadmill together with her, behind me. Honestly, those were some of the nicest times in my life, when you don't think about. Sorry, I got a text and stuff. When I don't remember height ever in any of my relationships, and I think that's a beautiful thing. Like, clearly, I like taller women, and I've been with several taller women in my lifetime, and if they don't care about it and I don't care about it, you don't even feel it when you're together. You could be taller and feel shorter. It's all in the mind. And in the comfort and trust level, and magic you have between one another. And I don't remember her ever being taller than me, or if I did, that it was a problem. It was actually exciting.
Yeah.
So there was nothing wrong with that, and there's been nothing wrong with it. Years later with other girls that I was with, both in America and overseas. So it's all good. I've had a good life, man, when it comes to
Yeah.
relationships.
Seems
So
like it.
I'm still I'm single, and I'm happy about that. I got the greatest girlfriend in the world, or the dog friend, my girl Sasha. So, and she's all I need right now. And honestly, all I really need is myself. And if, again, from a therapist perspective, all you need is to love yourself, and you're all good. You don't need anything else. And I'm very comfortable with myself. I actually really enjoy my company. I make myself laugh a lot, and I don't care about like the outside things that people care about, which makes me really weird. Maybe, I don't know, but I'm happy about it.
Well, listen. I think a lot of people. I mean, I know you're not necessarily chomping at the bit for it, but I think a lot of people would like to see some of your guys' life stories played out again on this reunion show. Was it only Mike that was that you talked to about this, or as far as you
No,
know?
no, Dan is totally, Dan's the original guy who got in touch with me on Messenger a year ago almost, about when he heard about it happening, and with other casts, and
Mhm.
saying that our cast is coming up. And I'm like, yeah, man. I didn't believe him. I'll be honest. I didn't believe him back then, but he was on top of it. And I'm like, okay, man, cool. Like, if that's true, great. Whatever. Let's see what happens. And then months and months later, almost a year later, like I said, he was in touch again. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know anything about it. I don't have Paramount Plus. I'm not watching it. I'm not getting ads on my feed about it. And I'm but then Cynthia was in touch, like I said, and then the producer was actually in touch with me
Oh
via
wow!
email. Yeah,
So
via
there's been
email.
feelers thrown out then by
Yeah, yeah,
producers.
yeah, 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 yeah. So that was again months ago, uh, and uh, and that's exactly what it was. Feelers to see if the cast wanted to be, what the entire cast was willing to participate, and I said, sure, I'm willing to participate, but just send the contract to this person. But again, my lawyer, my agent, my manager. That's normal procedure, man. There's no reason I need to have a conversation with
Yeah,
you.
like in the NFL,
Yeah,
I would say about 85% of the time there's a manager
yeah.
uh, with the contracts, not
I
the
would
player.
think when it comes to that level, believe me, a Paramount Plus or an MTV contract is not NFL level. so I gotta believe, I would think it would be smart or prudent that an NFL contract receiver would be more than 85%. I would hope, for MTV real world participants. I'm not even sure many of us have agents, managers or whatnot. But I mean, I'm in SAG-AFTRA. I have actual union obligations to meet. I can't just sign any regular contract. Uh, we're in a union, and that the union is to protect us and to make sure that the contract has certain basic things in it. If you're going
Yeah.
to be on a television show that is on network TV or on cable or live stream, there's very specific compensation packages for it. And MTV was notorious back in the day. I don't know about now because I haven't seen any contract. I hear about the contract, but back in the day, they were notorious for taking advantage of that. And that's what why reality TV became so big, because they got away with paying way less non-union contract fees to the talent. That's
Because
it.
it was basically, I mean, not to like defend that or anything, but
No,
like
it's a smart business.
it just
Yeah,
comes with the territory with the time periods that we
yeah,
were in. I mean, it was like
yeah.
basically an experiment back then. Nobody knew what the hell they were signing up for. So I mean, you know, I
Well, yeah, and it's a great business decision, especially when you see that people are signing into it, and you're not, and watching the show. You're getting the viewership, and you're getting the advertisers to stay on, and it's a popular show, and you're paying less for it. Why wouldn't reality TV become a big thing? It's a good business decision, right? And there is a pool of talent, non-talent, that talent that is willing and able to do, geez, nearly anything for hardly anything. So why wouldn't they exploit it? It's unfortunate how far it's come, but I mean, that's what people watch these days, and it wasn't that long ago that it was a new thing. Geez, I got to tell you, there's some crazy stories I could tell you about how, uh, MTV and Buna Murray blew up in the reality TV world with that Making the Band television show on ABC. They got they trans they 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 made the transition from cable to network TV with Making the Band, if you even remember what that was. And
Yeah.
and that's big money difference. That's tens of thousands to millions of dollars. You know what I mean? And if you get that deal and you are successful, then they're going to give you more deals on network TV. And that's what happened over and over. They got deal after deal after deal, and got show after show after show that was popular and making money, and still are to this day. It's shocking where Buna Murray, the production company, has their hands in. It's shocking, and those are now $1 million contracts for like the Kardashians and all those other shows. It's ridiculous though.
So as far
that
as
started with the Real World,
yeah,
with crappy contracts, then to making it, or the old team, or the old band, or Making the Band. I don't know what the name of the shows were, but that was it. That was how it all began.
so as
Man,
far as
I'm sorry, I'm shaking all over the place here,
no,
guys.
no,
But it gives you an idea of my personality and my ADHD. Still with me. So why would I keep it in one spot?
so as far as though, like, because the boxes that I've checked off, Cynthia, Dan, Mike, Flora, and you seem to be all for it. Like, has it been discussed that everybody's on down, or is everybody on board?
Yeah, if you talk to Mike, I don't see how you can't get a hold of Mike. Mike seems to be in touch with everybody because Mike is really gung ho about this, and across the board, he got a hold of everybody who you didn't name, and they're all interested. So he even had like a date where they'd probably consider us coming out, wherever that is. I don't know if they're filming it. He seems to believe they're filming them at the same locations as they were in the
They
past.
were. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's nearly impossible for our season to do that. I went back to that house, I think, about a year or so ago, because again, I travel a lot, and I was in Miami.
I think what happened was it's the same city, but I think New York and LA were the first two, and they had the same exact house. And then for the third homecoming that just ended was the New Orleans season. They didn't have the same house still there, but they still shot it in New Orleans, just in a different house.
Oh yeah, well, I think that's what will have to happen with us, because if you don't, did the color change? I'm getting this. I got to answer my softball teams.
Yeah.
Hold on 2 seconds, but I can talk in the meantime.
Yeah.
I got a softball game tonight. Hold on, I just want to make sure this is one. We need two. They need one more. I have to call it. Oh, all right, we're good. Did I lose you? Can you see me?
No, you're.
I don't see you, but that's okay.
Well, I could see me.
There we go.
So
Peter Thiel owns our house now. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
He's a super huge, wealthy, like venture capitalist, and it's like a fortress. The Miami Beach house is like a fortress. He bought the piece of property next door too. I would do that in a second, just to go in the house and meet Peter Thiel, to be honest with you. But because I'm in that computer world, that startup computer world, and he's an icon in it. So I doubt we'll be in that house. It would be an honor to go back to that house. And
you never know, man. Money talks at the end of the day.
Yeah, but MTV and Paramount Plus, I don't think would put up Peter Thiel money to say, hey, get out of your house. We're gonna do an MTV trash the house scenario here, which maybe we won't do because we're all old and we're not in that trash the house scenario. But honestly, I think some of our castmates are in that mindset.
So I got a question for you lastly here, though. Say if like this does happen, like who would you say you would be most nervous to see?
I'm not nervous ever about anything.
No?
Not nervous at all. No.
All right.
No, it'd be a pleasure. Also, man, remember, I am a therapist, and I think it's wonderful. I think it's healing. I think it's cathartic to no matter what the issues were with any cast members, for whatever reason, whether it's 25 years ago, what did we figure how many years ago it was? It's a lot of years ago. Oh my God, it's more than 25 years ago. And it's whatever the issues were back then, if we haven't moved on from them, that's like seriously, you got to move on and you got to let go. And I'm all about moving on and letting go. Letting go, number one. Forgiveness, and moving on are super important to one's own health. It has hardly anything to do with the other person. It's moving on, and I got nothing but love for my roommates for whatever they've said, whatever they've done, whatever we've experienced, during, before, after, whatever. I got nothing against anybody, and if they have something against me, that's their problem. It ain't mine, man. I forgive them. Let them have whatever they got against me. Literally, I'm like, what are you suffering from that from? I feel bad for you for whatever you're suffering. There's no need for anyone to deal with any of that, and that just adds to the difficulties in life that life already brings. Who needs that? Especially if they're not in my life on a daily basis. Who cares? What am I going to be affected by that for? So,
well, Joe, thanks for your time today. It was good meeting you, good connecting. I had a fun time chatting with you, picking your brain a little bit, and who knows, maybe down the road, if this show comes to fruition, we might be crossing paths again. But other than that,
no, it's fun that you're doing this, man. What am I allowed to ask you questions?
I mean, if you want.
What brought you to this world of interviewing people from years back?
Dude, I tell this story all the time. It fell in my lap. I just wanted to be like a quote unquote YouTuber, and then I just didn't know what my niche was after several failed attempts in my earlier stages of life. But once COVID hit, I needed something to do. And then, ironically enough, the time that I least put in any investment or stock into doing this is the time that it actually, started to pick up steam. So,
yeah.
Go figure. But here we are. It led us to talking, so can't complain.
Yeah. It's a pleasure. Be in touch anytime, man. I'm like totally available. I just have a really individual life of love for my dog, who has caused me nothing but things to be grateful for and realize that I should be grateful for. So I believe everybody should have an animal, a pet in whatever way, and live a better life, to be honest with you.
Amen.
Yeah. Right on.
All
It's
right.
a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Good luck at your softball game tonight.
No, thank you. It's so much fun. It's no stress.
Yeah. All right. Take care, man.
Ciao.